What's up, everyone? Welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Chris. So it's time to wrap up the month of reading for August. Had a really good month. I got read 9 books, and 2 of which were physical books, which is pretty good. I'm pretty excited about being able to squeeze some time away and get some physical reading in, because I'm finding that I really do miss that, and so I'm thoroughly enjoying that. Couple new authors that I've read that I really enjoyed, and I will look for more from them in the future. And so yeah, let me just stop here and let's go ahead and start chatting about what I read this month. Well, let's talk about how my month is starting out. First book that I chose was It by Stephen King. Now, I actually started this the end of July. I didn't think I was going to finish reading it before the month was up. It's a 48-hour book and well over 1,000 pages. I probably would never have even attempted to read that book, physical book. I've only ever done a book in physical form over 1,000 pages was Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Yeah, so, and that took me an entire summer to get through. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about It by Stephen King. Not gonna lie, I almost DNF'd it. Yeah, a Stephen King book. But I stuck it out because I thought to myself, first of all, I thought, you know what? You can't DNF this book. This is like, and I was already almost 20 hours in. And I thought, this is like one of his masterpiece books. So I pushed through it. I says, I can't. I felt like I was failing myself if I DNF'd this book. I thought you could be such a loser if you DNF this. Anyway, that being said, I got to about that 20-hour mark and I was just like, oh, I don't know if I could do another 28 hours. I really don't. But I pushed on. I thought, no, you're going to finish this book so you could buy it and put it on your shelf. Anyway, this book is about, it's centered in Derry, Maine, which a lot of his books have a connection and a tie into Derry. Stephen King has this thing called a multiverse. So a lot of his stories and places and characters, they kind of cross over and in through other stories of his. So Derry, Maine. It's 1958, I believe. And the book starts out with Georgie. There's a big flood. The streets are flooded, and he goes out with his little boat. I think he was like 6 years old. And he goes out with his little boat, and the boat goes down the sewer, and that's where he comes across It in the sewer drains. Which, that was an issue for me too, because I thought, all right, this is already kind of stupid, but whatever, I'm learning that I do not like horror, not because it scares me, because I think it's really stupid. It's like, so far, every horror book I've read is like, oh my God, this is so ridiculous. But that's me. Anyway, so that's where the story starts, with this creature, clown, in the sewer drain. And Georgie gets killed. And from there on, weird things take place in Derry. There's a group of kids. They're kind of like, they call themselves, what do they call themselves? The losers or too many hours of listening. Anyway, it is Bill, Stan, Eddie, Richie, Ben, and Beverly. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody. Is there 6 or 7 of them? I feel like there was one more. So, they all each have these things. And Bill was Georgie's older brother. Now, it flash forwards to 1985, and they have since moved on with their lives and moved out of Derry. And Mike. Forgot about Mike. So there was 7. And they end up getting another incident happens in Derry, and Mike happens to reach out to the old gang saying, we got to go back. That all unfolds towards the end of the book of why they had to go back to Derry to handle the problem of it. Overall, I'm giving the book 4 stars, but that being said, it wasn't a book for me. I didn't like the silliness of the horror aspect of it. It was very laborious. One of the beauty of Stephen King books, okay, the beauty of his writing is his character building and his place in atmosphere. That's what makes his novels shine, because the pages of the book come to life with his writing. At least they do for me. The people become real, and they become 3-dimensional, and these people. Well, because there were so many people, there were 7 in the group, and then there were some outside individuals too, and he built every single character. And I guess it just got a bit verbose. I mean, just going on and on and on, and although I do appreciate that, it was too much. And I think maybe that took away from the book as well. I didn't care for the ending. I thought the ending was just kind of... Stephen King could be very weird anyway, okay? If you've read Stephen King novels in more than one, you know that he could be odd. I'm trying to think. I don't even know. I started to keep a list of the books I've read by Stephen King. I think I've read like 14 of them. Of his novels. I only recently, within the past year, started to pick up Stephen King again and read more of his works. But, so yeah, the writing, spectacular, stellar character building, stellar place of where you're at, the atmosphere, and all the things that he does so well. So I did give it 4 stars, but overall, I thought it was too much. I think he could have really cut on a lot of the storytelling of each person. Not cut it out. Just condense it a little bit. I don't think this book needed to be 48 hours or over 1,000 pages that it was. In fact, I should check to see how many pages that is. It's a lot. And I think that he just got a little carried away, and that's my opinion. But 4 stars because, like I said, it exceptionally well written, and the character building, all the things other than the actual story itself, I enjoyed. So that being said, It by Stephen King. Checking another one off my Stephen King list of books to be read. And yeah, so 4 stars. That brings me to the next book. The next book I actually physically read. This is a new novel by Sarah Pinborough. And this is We Live Here Now. She wrote Behind Her Eyes, which if you saw my video, was it last month or the month before? I went nuts over that book. That book was fantastic. So I said, I want to read more. And I saw she had a new book out. So I picked this up. I happened to be at Target one day and it was like, oh, 30% off. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, I'll buy it. So I did. And I'm not sorry. I enjoyed the book. Does not compare to Behind Her Eyes, which I still think is incredible. This was very good as well. Totally different book. Everything about it's different. This is more of a thriller, horror thriller. I guess you'd call it horror. Whereas Behind Her Eyes was more of a psychological thriller. But let's talk about this one. So we've got Emily and Freddie. They're married and they live in London. Emily is just come out of a coma. She'd suffered long-term sepsis and all the things, and she was in the hospital for a very, very long time. And her and her husband buy a house out in the countryside, and it's called Larkin Manor. Big, beautiful country home. But Emily feels something is a little off with the house. She hears creaking and scratching, things like that. So she's kind of got, the heebie-jeebies in this house. But she's not sure if it is her mind playing tricks on her because she was sick for so long and still kind of recovering, or if it's haunted. And this book, I enjoyed the book. So it gave me, I felt it was very Edgar Allan Poe-esque type. I got those vibes from it. And also gave me, I was starting to feel like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Gaslight. I want to say it was, was it Ingrid Bergman? Oh God, I can't remember the actors, but it's from like 1930s, 1940, and it's a movie called Gaslight. So as I'm reading it, I'm getting like Gaslight vibes because her husband's kind of like making her think she's crazy, and she's starting to question, am I nuts? Is this stuff happening? So that kept me going because I'm like, is this real? Is it not? Is it in her head? What is going on here? So all in all, without getting any further into the book, it's kind of like a haunted house type book. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I really am liking Sarah Pinborough's writing, and I will probably check out maybe another book that she has written. Like I said, this is We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough, and she also wrote Behind Her Eyes, which that one there is just stellar. But I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it. Not a very long book. It was maybe just, let me check for you, just under 300 pages. So yeah, oh my God, We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough. Check it out. If you like those haunted house creepy vibes, it was creepy. Gives you the creeps. And there's also a little story in there about the ravens too that hang around the house. So again, gives you that little bit of Edgar Allan Poe vibe there. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So anyway, let's go on and see what else I read this month. Okay, I want to talk about this next book I read, which is A King of Ashes by A Cosby. Now, I've been hearing a lot about this author, and this is his newest release, and it became available. I had it on my list at the library, and I said, okay, let's read it. because I was up next. Anyway, it is a story about a family, and we have Roman Carruthers, his sister Nevia, and Dante. And it starts out, Roman gets a call from his sister. The father was in a car accident and he's in a coma, and he needs to come back home. Roman's in Atlanta. He is a financial genius, and his job is he makes his clients rich. So he works with a lot of people in the music industry, things like that. And so he's like a financial wizard. He's the only one who went to school. He went to school for business, and the mother disappeared some years ago when they were teenagers. So Nevia was forced to kind of hold the family business together and the family, along with the father, which they own a crematorium in the town they live in, Virginia, called Jefferson Run. It's kind of a rundown, small town place, and crime is up a bit. And so she's been working her tail off since she's been a young girl. And then there was Dante, the youngest, and Danny kind of took care of him all along. He's kind of a major screw up. And when Roman gets home, he finds out that Dante has gotten himself in a bit of trouble with some gangster-like men and owes them a lot of money. Now, Dante drinks, he does drugs, and these gangster people they gave him, supposedly he got involved with them because he was supposed to run some drugs for him on the streets, and things happened, and lo and behold, he owes them a lot of money. Roman comes in and he tries to bargain with these people and ends up getting interwoven with these criminals, and things just start to escalate from there. All the while, we've got the family tension going on from their childhood, and Nevaeh still insists that her mother was murdered, and she's all these years has been trying to find out who murdered her mother. No evidence that she was murdered. She just disappeared. So it's a gangster story with family drama and tension, violent, on the streets. They're thugs. We're not talking about back in the day type gangsters. We're talking about modern day gangsters. There's drug violence, guns. So it was a bit of a thriller with some mystery and suspense with the mother who disappeared. The writing was spectacular. I have to give the author A Cosby. It was very well written. You got a sense of these characters and who they were and what they were about, and you felt the atmosphere and the vibes. So I thought it was extremely well written. I have another book of his on, I call it order, but it's on not alone, on hold. I'm in line for its Razorblade Tears. So when it comes available, I don't know if I'm ready for another book of his right just yet. So if it comes available too soon, I'll probably skip it. Just to space out the type of book it is. Anyway, I don't know. Did that make any sense? So this one here, King of Ashes. Yeah, I enjoyed the book. It was good. Like I said, well written. Had great story there. Mystery, tension, violence, criminals, stuff. Kind of different from what I'm normally reading. So that was a nice switch off. And overall, I'm going to give it I think give it a 3.5 stars. Yeah, it was good and I enjoyed it. It wasn't like, wow, that was so, I really loved it. It was a very good book and, kind of fast paced and, like what's happening, what's going on. And yeah, so it was good. 3.5 stars. S.A. Crosby, King of Ashes. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move on and talk about this next book that I read. So this next book that I read is totally out of my genre that I usually follow. I'm always reading the thrillers and psychological thrillers. That's my wheelhouse there. But I had put this book on my requested list through Libby. God, it was a while ago, maybe like 2 months ago, and it became available, and I thought, why not? I'm gonna borrow it and check it out and see how it is. And that book is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Well, I enjoyed it. This is a romantic, what do they call it? Rom-com? I don't know if it was like rom-com, but it's a romance novel, contemporary romance. It was good. I enjoyed the humor in it. I liked all the characters. And before I start talking about that, I should tell you what the book's about, right? And who the characters were. Basically, the book is focused on Samantha and Xavier. Xavier is a young, just starting out veterinarian in Minnesota. And Samantha brings her little kitten in. And their first meeting there didn't go off so well because Xavier could be a little bit harsh and maybe a little rough around the edges, like grumpy. And so it didn't go all that great. But the type of person that Samantha is, I'll show him. But even though she found him very attractive, and they end up having a first date. And the first date was just amazing and wonderful. And he was just, so happy. And then he finds out she's actually leaving the next day. And he thought she was just going to leave for a visit. But no, she was leaving. She is moving out to California to be with her mom, who is suffering from Alzheimer's dementia. And so the story just moves forward of them trying to continue this long distance relationship. I found it was a very heartwarming story. There was, family matters involved. Funny. I love the characters. I thought Samantha was very quick-witted and just a very likable person. And as was he, even though he was grumpy, you find out why through the story that he is the way he is. But she managed to soften him, and the story follows the struggles of a long distance relationship. Overall, I thought it was a good story. It was out of my, like I said, the wheelhouse, but I will definitely pick up another book by this author. I like the fact that it was a romance novel without all the unnecessary sex scenes. I just don't care to read that. And I've said that before in my reviews. I know I'm not into the spice. It doesn't add to a story. This was it was very tame, and it focused more on the relationship building and growing. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good book, and I will definitely check out more by this author. And that is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. And I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars. Yeah, it was good. All right, so let's wrap this one up and go on to this next book. All right, excuse my voice. It's I got laryngitis or something going on. And every time I talk, I don't think it to come out sounding like it does. But I want to get this book review done before I forget, because this one is, for me, a little forgettable. And that is The Unmaking of June Farrow. This book it's not a bad book, but it was difficult to follow. It is about a woman, June Farrow, and the women in her family line are all cursed. And the story starts out where June's grandmother is very elderly and failing and kind of losing her marbles, right? And she passes away. Well, when she passes away, June starts to experience things like hallucinations and hearing and seeing strange things. And one day, there's this mysterious red door, and you go through the red door, and it brings her back to 1951, where she finds that she has a husband there and a daughter. So now a husband that she doesn't remember. There's a lot of things, parts going on in the story. And she is determined to break this curse, as well as find out the reason her mother mysteriously disappeared. And prior to her going back to 1951, she had already started to uncover weird things about her mother, finding pictures of her mom back from 1921. The whole timeline didn't make sense to her. Well, that's all part of this curse. I still don't quite understand the curse. Basically, they live in I don't know if it's parallel universes. It's just, she talks about this timeline, and I couldn't quite grasp the concept of this curse. So, and basically, the women are set to kind of get what they call sick, where they lose their minds and they're considered mad, but they're not, because they're existing in two alternate realities. For me, the book was very confusing. It wasn't horrible, but at the same time, as with many books that deal with time travel, it gets a little mind twisting, right? You get that, that mind bend. Yeah, so she is determined to break this curse and save her daughter from the same fate that all the other women in the Farrow line has suffered. Now, that's all I can really say about the book, because I didn't fully understand it. I'm going to give it, for me, this is going to be 2.5 stars. It was just too confusing. I did finish the book. However, it left me a little confused. Yeah. But it was enough to where I can continue reading it. I was able to follow along enough to do that. But when they started talking about why it's happening and, making changes so that, it just got really confusing. So I don't know. Let me, if you've read this book. I think Martha did, from Martha's Fragrance Corner, because I did talk to her about it. Because when I first started reading it, I was like, hey, Martha, this is worth the read, because I wasn't hooked. But I pushed on and I became hooked. But overall, it was just too confusing for me to fully enjoy the story. Yeah. So let me know. Have you read it? What did you think? Were you able to grasp onto what was going on? So again, for me, I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. And that is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. Okay, going to rest the voice before moving on to the next book. Okay, so before I talk about the next book here, let me just apologize for that last review of The Unmaking of June Farrow. I could barely speak. I probably should have just left that review for later, but then I thought, you know what, then I'll really forget about it, because for me it was an unforgettable book, and my review was pretty crappy because I really didn't even understand what was going on. It was just bizarre, and the whole time thing was just, it wasn't. I mean, I've read other time travel type books before, and they can be a little bit of a challenge, but this one was exceptionally so. I didn't understand what was going on. So anyway, I apologize for that. But anyway, this next book I really enjoyed, and that is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. This was a good one. It's dark academia, psychological thriller, great twist at the end. Um, Basically, this book follows, oh my God, Miranda Andros, and she is recently widowed. She lost the love of her life. She is a group counselor. Yeah, her life has been kind of a bit of a tragedy, I guess. And speaking of tragedies, this book is based around a Greek tragedy. And she lost her mom when she was very young. She was raised by her father. Um, Father wasn't a very warm, loving type of man. He was a provider. And so Mariana never really got, the comfort she needed as she was growing up as a young girl. So anyway, then she loses her husband, and he was the love of her life, and she's still grieving over that. And in the meantime, now she gets a call from her niece Zoe, who is studying at Cambridge University in England. And she gets a call from her aunts. There's been a murder on the campus, and she's distraught because it was one of her best friends, and Mariana knew who this girl was. So she ran out and went up to Cambridge University to be with her niece and, comfort her and whatnot. And while she's there, things start to unfold, and she feels like she knows who the killer is. And she thinks it is the Greek tragedy Professor Edward Fosca. So throughout the book, she is trying to dig things up and find out or prove that he was the murderer, because he has this elite group of girls that he calls the Maidens. And the girl, Tara, the one who died, Zoe's friend, is one who got murdered. So the murders continue, and, the tension increases, and she is just determined to prove that Edward Fosca is the killer. And, you don't know if her judgment's clouded by her grief or her obsession. And yeah, so I don't want to take, too much more than that. All I'm going to tell you is, if you like dark academia, atmospheric, because it was very atmospheric being on the Cambridge campus. Yeah, and if you're into psychological thrillers, and if you read The Silent Patient and love that book by Alex Michaelides, I think you might like this one too. It was very moody, gothic vibe, dark academia. And the twist at the end was pretty good. So yeah, maybe a little far-fetched for some, but it was good. Yeah. I enjoyed this one, and I'm going to give it 4 stars. So let me know if you've read this one, what you thought, or if it sounds like something that you may want to pick up. And let's go ahead and move on to the next book. All right, so I'm really excited to talk about this next book, and it is His and Hers by Alice Feeney. Can we ever get a bad book from Alice Feeney? So far, I have yet to get a bad one. I'm really, really liking her books. In fact, I have a few more on deck that I'm going to quickly read and get into, but let's talk about this book. All right, so this book takes place in a small English town called Blackburn? I think that's the name of that. And pretty much our characters are Anna Andrews and Jack Harper. And there are the main character is Anna Andrews, but Jack Harper's a big part in here too. So it's told from three alternating perspectives: Anna, Jack, and an unknown person. Now, I listened to this on audio, and at first, when the unknown character the unknown person starts the book off, and I'm like, oh dear God, I can't listen to this voice for the whole book. Because, and come to find out, it's like a voice change type sound. But anyway, if you read the book, you won't have that experience. But if you're going to listen to it, be prepared that the unknown person is kind of has like a voice disguise thing going on. Anyway, Anna is a TV news presenter for the BBC, and she goes to cover a murder. And the murder is Rachel Hopkins, and this is where we meet Detective Harper and Jack Harper. And now it turns out Jack and Anna were once married, but now here we have Rachel Hopkins, who is the victim, and the victim just happens to be somebody from Anna's past and Detective Harper's past and current situation, because he's been sleeping with this woman who's been murdered. And as the story moves on and investigations continue, other people become murdered. And these people are all from Anna's past. Group of friends, girlfriends that, have history are all being killed one by one. And our unknown person pops in to talk about devious or nefarious thoughts and history and motive, and we don't know who this unknown person is. And anyway, this what I love about Alice Feeney is she's so twisty. Her writing is so twisty. So we're going through the story trying to find out, who the killer is, and every time I was reading, I'm like, it's got to be this one. It's got to be this one. It's got to be this one. Yeah. In true style, the reveals always end up being somebody completely or something completely off the wall. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the three narrated perspectives from Anna and Jack and our mystery person. And it follows, there's a back and forth timeline, because we have visions, or not visions, but narration from things that went on in the past with these girls and Anna to today, and back and forth. And it was just a good book. It was a fast-paced book. I actually listened to this book in an entire day. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this book. I thought it was great. The twists were good. The writing was good. It kept me on my toes and kept me guessing right up until the very end. And I was just like, yeah, this was a good one. As usual, a good one. I would highly suggest this book to anybody who likes a good mystery thriller. I thought this was fantastic. And that is His and Hers by Alice Feeney. And I'm going to give this one a solid 4 stars. So yeah, check it out. Let me know if you've read it. All right, let's talk about this next book. This one is The Perfect Marriage by Janeva Rose. Now, this book is focused on Sarah Andrews and her husband, Adam. Sarah is a high-powered defense attorney in Washington, D.C., and her husband, Adam, is a writer. Adam finds himself in a bit of trouble. He is being accused of murdering his mistress. So Sarah knows that she is the best lawyer for the job, and she decides to stand by her husband and defend him. He's facing the death penalty. The odds are stacked against him, but she is determined to find out who the killer really was. Great book. I liked all the twists and turns in it. There's secrets and suspense. And yeah, I liked this one. It was fast paced, easy read, written well. And so if you like a good fast paced thriller with some good twists and turns in it, I highly suggest this one. I thought it was great. It's an easy read. It's a quick read. I love when I could just do like a really fast read and be sucked in right from the beginning. That's important to me when I'm just looking to be entertained. That's what this was. It was just entertaining, not too thought provoking, but still had some grit to it. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I am going to go ahead. I'm going to give this 3.75 stars. Not giving it a 4-star only because parts of it I thought were just a little bit like crazy. I thought, all right, it got a little bit. There was a small part in the story where it got just a little carried away, I thought, and I'm like, oh, this is, really silly now. But it quickly redeemed itself. And at that point, I was thinking, I'm just chopping this one down to 3 stars now. You lost me here because it just got a little bit silly. And then it quickly redeemed itself. And I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. This is kind of washed that little situation away. And yeah, so overall, I really did enjoy the book. I'd recommend it as a read if somebody's like into thriller and suspense and they're looking for something quick and easy. Definitely. This one's a good one to go to, and that is The Perfect Marriage by Janeva Rose. And there's also a follow-up book to this, The Perfect Divorce, which I have put on my list of to be read. And yeah, so anyway, check it out and let me know if you've read it. Okay, last book. And that book is 20 Years Later by Charlie Donlea. I stumbled across this book in Audible because I don't know if it was in my wish list. I can't remember, but I noticed this is available until 9/9. Like it was a free book. And I thought, okay. And I think it had like 4.5 stars. I thought, well, okay, I'll read it, right? It's free. So anyway, this book is a thriller crime drama with a little investigative suspense mixed in. And we're following TV news journalist Avery Mason. And she is on her way to New York City to cover a story where the remains of a 9/11 victim were identified. And this is 20 years later, which hence the name of the book. Well, what makes that piece of the story interesting is as Avery starts to dig a little deeper into the story and talking to people, she finds out that this person that was identified was actually accused, and it's a woman, was accused of a horrendous crime years before. And that crime, which took place 20 years ago, was of an author. His mistress, which is the victim that they've identified, was accused of brutally murdering him. And as she's going through, lots of stories are unfolding. Lots of other stories are unfolding at the same time. Stories of Avery herself, another person she meets along the way during this journey. There was a lot going on. We're just going to say that. There was a couple nice twists at the end of the book that were enjoyable. And the book for me was a little slow. I'd say the first third of the book, maybe a little more, it was just kind of like flat. There wasn't much, that pulse pounding excitement, or that, where your adrenaline's kind of going a little bit like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? It was kind of slow. It was a very slow build. And then toward the end, and I mean well into the book, then it started to pick up. I'd say like just about the halfway point of the book. So for me, that was kind of a letdown. However, the second half of the book kind of redeemed itself because the story finally got interesting. The leading up to the part was not so much. It was slow. And I was getting kind of bored. I'm like, ugh, is this worth it for a free book? But I guess I was piqued. My curiosity was piqued because of the 4-star rating, or 4.5-star ratings. And I thought, if they're giving it such high ratings, it's got to get better somewhere. And it did. However, I like when a book hooks me right away. This one didn't hook right away. If you're okay with that, check the book out. It wasn't a horrible book by any means. Like I said, that second half or so of the book got really interesting. It was like, okay, what's going on? That's where all that paving up to that point started to all unfold, like peel away like the layers of an onion. Then you get to the heart of it. So it did, it picked up. But I'm still only going to give this book, for me, 3.5 stars. It was just okay. I would probably maybe check out some other books that this author has written and see if there's, I did like that bit of crime, thriller, and mystery kind of all mixed in together, like, detective work. So yeah, I would look at other books. I would consider another book by this author. So anyway, that's 20 Years Later by Charlie Donlea. And yeah, that's my wrap up for the month. It was a decent month. Like I said, it wasn't bad. There was some good ones in there that were, I really enjoyed. Stay tuned this month because I got a really big book haul to share. And yeah, I know. You're like, but Chris, you don't read books. You listen to your books. No, I have started reading them as well. Some of them. I've trying to get some balance going. Look, what did I have? 2 this month or 1? 2. I read 2 physical books this month. I think I read 2 the month before. So I'm going to try to, continue with that. We'll see. But yeah, I did do quite a large book haul. I'm just waiting for all the books to get here before I haul them. And basically what this haul is I kind of decided that if I read a book and I really enjoy the book, then I want to own the book. As well as, I'm on my quest to read every Stephen King novel. So even if one of his novels falls short for me, I want it. I want to own the entire Stephen King collection. I know, weird, right? I enjoy other authors as well, but there's something about his writing. You guys, I don't know what it is. He's a master in my eyes. Yeah, he's good. So that's why I'm on that quest. But anyway, chit-chatting too much, right? So that's it. And we'll see what next month holds as far as what I've been reading. And I hope I have a good month next month. We're going into spooky season, so maybe I'll try to start gathering some book thoughts of what I want to read for the month of October, but that's jumping ahead. If you got any suggestions for spooky for October, drop them in the comments below. I don't want horror. I want spooky vibes. Creepy. Just creepy. Dark and creepy. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Don't send me vampires. Please. No vampires. Just spooky. Spooky and creepy. No demons either. I can't do demons or devil books. So I don't know what's left. Anyway, all right, everybody. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you and I appreciate the time you take out of your day, your lives, your busy schedule, and you watch a video I've uploaded. It means the world to me. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Helps my channel grow. And you all have a great day, great week, weeknight, whenever you happen to be watching. And we will chat again real soon. Bye-bye.